So these formulas you don't have to have memorized because they're on your formula sheet, but you do need to have them memorized for AP Calculus next year. So for this year, I want them to be mostly memorized. And by mostly memorized, if you see sine and cos with 4 things, your brain should say, oh, there was a bunch of formulas with sine and cos and 4 things. Which one do I have? So you've got to mostly memorize, but you don't necessarily recognize that, oh, this is my sine alpha minus beta formula, because the sine alpha minus beta formula says sine alpha cos beta minus cos alpha sine beta, and I have the minus in between. I also might make a note that, okay, so this would be alpha, this would be beta, this would be alpha, this would be beta. Does it match the right-hand side perfectly? It does. If it matches the right-hand side perfectly, that means you are allowed to change it to the left-hand side, which would be sine alpha is the 8x, minus beta is the 3x. This simplifies nicely to sine of 5x. So first of all, we have to check, because sometimes they'll make the formulas mostly match up, but not completely match up. And you can only do a substitution if the formula completely matches up. Also, if you look on page 638, right above example 2, they also have the sum and difference formulas for tan, which are right here as well. So the mostly memorized I use for the tan formulas is if you have a fraction that has a whole bunch of tans in it, you should check your formula sheet. So that's what we have here. We have a fraction with a whole bunch of tangents in it. I should check my formula sheet if that matches up. So I look at my formula sheet, I've got a plus sign on the top of the 2 formulas. The tan alpha plus beta formula has a plus sign on top. It's tan alpha plus tan beta over 1 minus tan. 1 minus tan alpha, tan beta. And then I'm going to go here and say, well, then my alpha is pi over 6, beta is pi over 12, alpha is pi over 6, beta is pi over 12. Does this format match up perfectly? Yes. Since it matches up perfectly, I can say it's equal to, and transfer it to the left-hand side. Tan, alpha was pi over 6, minus beta, which was pi over 12. How do you subtract fractions? Oh, it's a plus. Wow. There we go. How do you add fractions? In a common denominator, so I have 2 pi over 6 plus 1 pi over 6. Sorry, 2 pi over 12 plus 1 pi over 12. That will give me 3 pi over 12. Now this question does say evaluate where possible. You don't have to simplify fractions. However, do you recognize that 3 pi over 12 is on your pi plate? It is because I can reduce it to pi over 4. And tan of pi over 4 is just 1. So this whole huge fraction full of tans is just equal to 1. Right? And now you can use that on all of your science tests. If your answer is ever 1, just write that instead. I'm sure they would really appreciate it.
Would they be able to mark it wrong?
I'm sure they would be able to, whether they were correct in marking it wrong or not. I don't know.
They might mark it wrong incorrectly, and they can mark anything wrong technically.
They might say, oh, it's not simple. Science very simple.
Mr. JR could just give us a zero, could just give all of us a 0 on the next test if you wanted to.
I could. Don't tempt me.
Yeah, you seem like a reasonable person.